Hello, and welcome back to On the Brain, the podcast where we just talk about what is on our mind. We have to find a better logo for that. But I want to start off by saying goodbye. I did not say goodbye last podcast. My internet cut out towards the end, so that was unfortunate, but I am back now, so goodbye and hello. We have a new podcast, same group of talented folk joining me, and we're just gonna be talking about what is on the brain for today. First off, I just wanted to go around saying how you guys doing today. I haven't talked to you guys in a little bit. Just want to gauge how we're doing. The weather has been raining, and how has that affected your mood?
Well, wait. Okay, I'm gonna go. Oh God. Okay. I know. Okay. So it has been raining here, and it's been raining pretty hard. It actually kind of sucked because my girlfriend was working in Scotts Valley, and I wanted to go visit her after I was done with school, but the roads were so flooded that I wasn't able to, so I just had to wait. And but luckily she came home yesterday. But other than that, I've just been staying inside, probably a little too much.
Nice, nice. Any fun household activities that we've all been doing lately? I'll start off by saying I've never really been super into anime, like just growing up and stuff. But lately, I've been getting recommendations, and have binged a few shows now. I binged Promised Neverland, I binged Erased, and now I am like a few episodes into season 2 of Attack on Titan.
Impressive.
So I'm enjoying all this. I'm just kind of going through them right now.
Yeah. For me, I'm enjoying the rain, and it's normally pretty dry here in California, so I'm from Ohio, and I'm used to that sort of weather. But it's wet, and I don't like getting wet. It's cold, but yeah, actually, I just started watching an anime with Jenna, and she said it's one of her favorites. It's called Toradora. I think it's a pretty popular one.
Toradora is fucking.
Yeah,
I've
so
heard of this one.
I've seen
I don't know too much about it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's like a.
Or I should rephrase. I have seen the thumbnail on Netflix. That is my
There you go.
extent of knowledge for the show.
Yeah, I watched a couple of episodes the other day. It was interesting to say the least.
It's a really good one. Good one.
But Tomato, how have you been?
As you've said, it's been raining, and I work pretty much 5 minutes away, so I walk to work every day. So it's been really annoying showing up to work soaking wet, doing my job, coming back home through the rain. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Been working,
It's good exercise.
programming and shit.
I
mean, I'd rather not. I'm cold every day now.
I have a friend who was telling me that she walks her dog, and it's been raining a lot. She has a puppy, and it's a husky. And huskies are a little rambunctious, especially at the puppy stage. And
Yeah.
she walks her dog, but she doesn't have a rain jacket for her dog. So what she'll do is she'll like rip up trash bag and like try to put it on the dog, but the dog will just start gnawing at it, and it won't work
no.
too well. So she gives up, and she just walks her dog in the pouring rain. She has to come back and give her a blow dryer before it gets back in the house, and that just sounds awful.
Big ball of
Like a
poof.
lot of work.
Like, really? Why go through the struggle?
It's love.
Awesome. All right, let's roll the intro. All right, what we're doing today is we're going to be talking about our favorite board games. I've mentioned in the past I love the hobby, and I'm pretty sure everyone else here is an avid board game fan. So we have all brought our top 5 board game lists. We're going to go through them one at a time, sort of round robin style, and we're going to see kind of how it goes. I imagine there might be some overlap. I don't know what you guys are thinking. I assume there'll be a few overlapping.
I have a few avant-garde games, or I guess tailored to my tastes, so
Sure.
I'm sure I'll have a couple of unique ones.
So going into this, how did you guys construct your list? I'll share what I did. I have my top 5 here, and these are my 5 favorite games, probably currently. But I also tried to kind of diversify a little bit. Like, I didn't want to pick similar games, so I kind of like have a different categories. I have like a party game, a strategy game. You know, I have kind of different categories, and I picked my favorite from different categories. So I kind of went into this thinking like if I can only have 5 games, these would probably be my 5 games I'd want to have.
For me, I organized, I think it was from favorite to least. I have like a very moderate collection, but you know, the favorites came to mind pretty fast. So it was
Sure.
just like first one I could think of, then next, and then next.
Yeah, I think mine's kind of similar to John's. I just wrote as many board games down as that came to mind, and then I organized them into a list of least a favorite. But I mean, they're my top 5,
Okay.
so there's not really. They're all pretty much up there.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I wouldn't choose to not
Sure.
play.
So I did mine a little bit differently. So how I felt, instead of like just, general favorite game, I did it more by like my heart and like how much fun I have with the game and like just the nostalgia I'll have for a game. So as you guys see, with some of these things I put down, there's going to be like a story or two mixed in. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
And just claim like, so what do you guys consider like a board game or a game in general? I mean, like if I have poker or chess or even like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh on my list, like are those considered board games, or what do you consider a board game?
I had this conversation last night with Trent, one of our friends, and we got a little heated actually because I was asking him this question to like kind of spark conversation, and he was confused on like what he would count as a board game. He ended up saying Uno, and I was trying to justify that like something like Werewolf would be considered a board game, right?
Sure.
I mean, you played around a table and there are cards, but do you need a physical board
No.
to have it be considered to be a board game?
No,
Okay, yeah.
I'd say no.
Yeah. Then a few of mine will be like that,
Mhm.
where they're more card oriented.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that chess and pretty much anything that really does have a physical board is a board game. But I think a lot of newer board games are like they don't have a board at all. Like look at I mean, I guess you could consider Cards Against Humanity a board
Yeah.
game. It's more of a
Yeah.
party game, but it's still something that you all sit around and technically play.
Yeah, I use the game.
Yeah.
I use the term board game kind of loosely when I talk about the hobby. It's kind of more like tabletop games, board games, just kind of gaming in general. Like I kind of just put it all into one word. So maybe board game isn't the right
Yeah.
term to use.
Yeah, tabletop is definitely a better term
Sure.
now that I think about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I think.
All right. Well, I guess I will kick things off here with my number 5, top 5 favorite game of all time. It fits into the party category, and I like this game just because I've played it with a bunch of different groups, and I played it, with my parents. I played it with people who aren't really into gaming that much, and this always goes over well. So this is my party game. It is Codenames. Codenames, currently you can find it for like $15 on Amazon, and there's a bunch of different versions you can get. There's, Codename Pictures or Codenames like Harry Potter. It doesn't really matter which one. I prefer just the normal Codenames with words. I imagine this might appear later on in someone else's list, but Codenames is my number 5. I think, just the diversity of the game with different crowds always goes over really well. It is one that probably I'm looking at my list. I probably might have probably not played the most, but it hits the table a lot more. That's my take on Codenames.
For me, I have Catan as my number 5 slot. It's a pretty lengthy game, and I believe the prices vary, but you can get it for around $35. And then there are, of course, all of the expansions, which definitely add to it. But if you're talking about the core game, it's a great resource-based game, and sort of resource management is fun. But I like the banter that it creates at the table.
Totally. Did not take
definitely
you
a
for a
fun one.
Catan man Did not take you for a Catan man.
Yeah. I will say for the record, I don't own a copy of the game, but I have a few friends who do, so
Yeah, like
I definitely get to play it.
surprisingly, in my collection, I don't currently own a copy of Catan. Just a normal game. Just never felt the huge desire to play Catan. I played it with a bunch of different friends, and I do enjoy it, but I personally probably never felt the desire to go get that game. So what expansions would you recommend, though? What have you played and what have you tried out?
I haven't played all of them, but there is a 5 to 6 player expansion that definitely works, and if you have a lot of friends you can play with post-COVID, I recommend it. And then I also have tried Seafarer. I believe Seafarers is what it's called. It adds oceans and the islands.
Yeah. True. Isn't that also introduces 5 to 6 players?
Yes, that as well.
Yep.
I like both of them. It adds a little bit more complexity and strategy as well.
Mm-hmm. For the last holiday season, I got a Catan dice game.
Stole.
From a white elephant. I will just kind of make sure that's clear.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that's clear. And a white elephant, I did steal a Catan dice game, and it was from Tanner's girlfriend, I believe.
Yep, it could have been mine.
The last white elephant I played with you guys, I ended up getting Tanner's gift, and it was a wonderful chocolate and wine night.
That was a good gift.
A movie. It was. I think it was a wonderful score.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it.
I did. Thanks.
So my 5th game in my list probably has to be Secret Hitler. So it's basically kind of like a deception game that you're trying to figure out who the fascists are amongst the liberals, and you have to assassinate Hitler in order to win the game. Which seems very interesting, but it's less vulgar than you'd think. It's just flipping over cards and passing different policies. And it's a lot of fun because it's just constantly arguing with your friends and trying to really pin down in their, like, what aspects of their personality change when they play on the liberal team versus the fascist team.
When they
you're
lie.
Just picking apart. Yeah, you're just like picking apart their like psyche, trying to figure out who they really are on the inside.
I will note that this is in my top 3. I won't spoil where it is, but it's a great game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Hitler. I've played that one a few times, and yeah, it always goes over. It's interesting. I haven't played it enough to like really see kind of how the meta evolves and plays. Definitely a game that I would want to play more. Do you know the player count? What's like a minimum requirement amount for Secret Hitler?
Minimum is, I believe, 5. Oh, it could be 4, but it's between 4 and 5.
Is there like an ideal, player range that you would say?
As many as you can, and you can play up to 10 players. And it gets to be very entertaining at like 7 to 8 players,
Sure.
and at 9 or 10, it's a hoot and a holler. It's a lot of fun, and I used to play it at Denny's after work with some friends around like 10 or 11, and it would just be quiet Denny's, and we're all sitting there slamming our fists on the table screaming, "No, you're a fascist." It's a lot of fun.
Honestly, off of Secret Hitler, like, dude, it pisses me off that the first game I played of Secret Hitler, it was like, we were at Camping John, right? And first game of Secret Hitler, I get Secret Hitler. I was so excited. I was so happy. I'm like, dude, we about to take this dub. And then, like, Jenna accidentally reveals her card. And it's like, okay, sorry, guys. We have to reshuffle. Come on. Deal with
Oh, no.
That's always a great.
Secret Hitler, honestly, just off of that, leaves a bad taste off in my mouth. But,
It's okay.
mad respect to you, John.
She has a pretty negative experience with playing Secret Hitler because I'm really good at throwing her under the bus when I know she's on the other team.
Yeah,
so it's really hard for her to convince other people, but she still has fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Deception
fun.
games are tough like that. If you have someone who you just play a lot of games with and you kind of recognize their patterns, like, it can be really rough. It can definitely make a lot of these kind of games not fun if you play them too much with the same group. Especially, but I think playing these games, especially with new people all the time, keeps it fun, keeps it flavorful.
Or just get really good at acting and be able to change your play style and be aware of all of your, like, what are they called? Your gives or what have you?
Tells.
Your tells, yeah.
Totally.
All right, so I think this is a good time for me to reveal my number 5. And my number 5 may surprise some of the people here. But I put Risk as my number 5.
Ooh.
So I think this is less about the game. Honestly, Risk classic game. Everyone knows Risk. You know, it's pretty fun to sit down and play. A really nice, fun strategy game. But amongst me, Anthony, and Tanner, we've played it a handful of times. And every time the game devolves into one person starting to become really powerful and the other two ganging up on them. And then it just turns into a shit show of a game where we're all just like trying to fuck over each other and we're all super salty. Tanner punched me one time or twice playing Risk. So
I do remember that. I was there. Oh, goodness.
It honestly has some of the like funniest memories in terms of board games, but like out of my list, this one is probably more so just of like the fondness of the memories rather than the game itself. But yeah, that's my number 5.
Yeah, I've always seen the memes where it's like, oh, Risk, the game that tears friendships apart. And I never believed it until I played with Jacob, and he absolutely destroyed me. And I got so pissed. I flipped the board once. I punched him.
Yeah.
I think I threw a pillow at the board another
I
time.
remember.
And I'm not a rager, but Risk gets me going.
Exactly. It's Tanner is like Tanner is probably one of the like calmest people I know. Like he doesn't really get upset at anything, but Risk just brings out a different side of him. Like he's hungry.
Yeah, dude, I've never seen Tanner get so like upset at a game before. Whenever we play Risk, it's always like we'll be hanging out, and at this point we play Risk just kind of for the nostalgia and for the appeal of it. So if someone suggests, hey, do you guys want to play Risk? We just kind of all look at each other like, man, yeah, I guess. Tanner, can you play Risk?
Here we go again.
Tanner, how's your mood today?
Yeah. And it's not even a game you can finish.
Yeah, I cannot
either.
say the
you
word.
It takes a long
you
time.
play it for 4 hours and then you like surrender.
Yeah, that's like Monopoly, you know? You go for as long as you can bear. Sometimes Monopoly can take like 6 or 7 hours. I've had full day play sessions of that game.
Totally.
Another one of my favorite memories of Risk is that we played it, and then after we were done, since me, Anthony, and Jacob all know how to code, we did a challenge of who could make a Risk dice rolling simulator to fight battles really quickly. And as we all tried to do that as fast as we
Yeah,
could.
and
that was a
I'm
lot
pretty
of fun.
sure you came
That's
out on
cool.
top of that one.
Oh, wow.
Yes, sir.
I think like 20 minutes in, I was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Nope.
Honestly, I started it and I think, oh, this won't be too hard. And then I was working on it for like 10 minutes. I'm like, oh fuck, like I don't want to do this anymore. This is too much.
All right. I think we should go into our number 4. All right. So number 4, I decided to call this category, you know, when I'm playing a lot of games, you know, back to back with a lot of friends, you know, we'll have a lot of these nice, big, meaty games, which are a lot of fun, which take up the night. But in between these sessions, we like to break it up a bit, you know, play something light, play something fun. This is my filler game. And this is honestly, maybe besides one other game, this is probably my oldest game that I've like purchased. This is kind of one of the games that got me into the hobby. Throughout like high school, I would keep this game in my backpack and we'd play it all the time, like after school, during lunch. It's so quick and digestible. And it is, of course, Love Letter. Love Letter, if you haven't already played Love Letter, it's very simple mechanics. You draw a card, you play a card. It's very easy to teach, but over the years I have played this game, the meta between my friend group has changed so much. We're at a point in this game where it's just, it goes full circle. You know, we're kind of memeing a lot of the time, and then we have like these really awesome like guard sniper plays, and then it just kind of goes back to like memeing and trying to like figure each other out. There's such a weird, interesting meta that develops in this game. And currently I have the, I don't know, I want to say deluxe. I don't think it's called deluxe, but there's like a step upgrade. I mean, there's so many different versions of Love Letter too. There's like a Batman Love Letter, Rick and Morty Love Letter. Pick your poison. But I think it's just just the classic Love Letter. Very simple mechanics, always fun to play, and I feel like there's a lot of memories that I have here just in high school, just playing this with a bunch of friends.
And you know what is really funny about that is that you put an impression on Jenna and she loves that game so much. I bought it for her and she always forgets to take it anytime she's like going to go hang out with friends.
That's
And
fun.
she's, oh, I could bring Love Letter, we'll play. And then we get there and she goes, oh, I forgot.
Yeah, I would just leave it in my backpack. Like I always liked having like a game on me. Like if we went somewhere or did something, I brought this game to Denny's bunch of times. We just played at Denny's. Yeah, the normal version I got only played up to 4 players, but I think the version I have now goes up to 6, and some cool new cards in there.
Nice.
Yeah. Honestly, I think Love Letter is the game
That's
you
what I want
put
to
out the
say. Yeah,
most, besides
Like,
another one. But
that's what
this is
I
your
was
most
looking at
popular.
Codenames. Like I think I've pulled out Codenames a lot because it's a very easy game to play and digest. But Love Letter, I think, has been the game I've pulled out the most, just because it's even quick. The game's probably not the most time, like cumulatively, but definitely the most like games played. I think without a doubt it has to be Love Letter.
And for anyone out there who is looking to get this game, it's actually probably one of the cheaper games on the list, probably the cheapest. It goes around $12 on retail. You can find it at Target, Walmart, or Amazon.
Go to your local game store.
It's very easy, very digestible, but yeah, it's still very, very fun.
Are you able to play it with a deck of cards?
I mean, yeah, totally. A lot of these games you definitely could. With Love Letter, though, I mean, yes, there are.
You just have to know the roles.
Yeah, you'd have to know the rules for sure. You totally could, but there are 9 or 8, depending on which version you have, 9 or 8 different cards in the deck, and so I mean, yeah, a deck of cards is plenty, and most of them only have like 2 cards at most. So just being able to. Yeah, so you totally could.
But you should go to your local
But
game
you should
store
go to
and
your local
support them.
game store, support them, especially in these times.
All right. So for my number 4 slot, I have a game that I got in high school. I don't play it too much anymore, but it's still near and dear to me. It's a lot of fun, and it has a lot of fun references in it. It's called Boss Monster. It's a
Boss
dungeon
Monster.
crawler
Good one.
card game. It's weird. You like play cards out of your hand onto the table, and you build your own dungeon, and you are the boss of this dungeon, and then you have to slaughter heroes and lure them in from a village. And it's very retro and 8-bit sort of feel. It's a lot of fun. I used to play it in high school with some friends. They came out with a second version, and you can play with all of the expansions and everything. You can play them all together. It's a lot of fun. There's Boss Monster 2, and then there's a couple of smaller expansions, like a sci-fi expansion, and then like more weapons and tools for the heroes to make them more challenging, and references a lot of old retro games. Lots of fun little things to catch while you're playing.
Yeah, the
But
art,
it's a lot of fun.
the art and design of the game is really cool. You know, it has like that video game
It is.
feel to it. And I think I think you introduced me to this game, John, and I'm the kind of person like if someone introduced me to a game that I fall in love with, like I gotta get that game. It's kind of what introduced me to the hobby, but like I don't remember if I played it with you or you were just telling me about it, and then I kind of looked into it, and then I got the game. I got a couple of the expansions. I started playing it a lot. Yeah, it's a fun like strategy game. It's a great 2-player game, and I think good strategy 2-player
It
games
is.
aren't necessarily the easiest to get, just because like you're kind of investing in just a game for 2 players when you can get games that fit more players. But Boss Monster I think scales well as well. It goes good for 3 or 4 players as well,
Yes.
and it's cool. It's a lot of good strategy
Well,
with it. It's a fun
Yeah,
one.
I'm glad that you ended up getting it and enjoying it, because it's a lot of fun. It kind of blends some Magic the Gathering elements with, casting spells that affect other players, but then still being able to strategize and build on your own dungeon.
So my number 4 game has already been
Oh, first crossover.
said. It is Love Letter. And for the same reasons as Anthony, it's so fun, it's quick, and even though it's a quick game, you just want to keep playing. You'll spend probably like 2 hours just playing these, 10 to 20 minute games just over and over again, and you just can't put it down, and it's easy to whip out too. Like you said, you can bring it to restaurants and anything and play it before your meal comes, and it's just one hell of
Totally.
a time.
Yeah, definitely. We are that group of people who will bring out a little game or waiting for our food. That was good memories, good times.
I'm not trying to copy answers here, but a surprise. My number 4 is also Love Letter. So let's
Whoa.
go.
A 3-way crossover for the same number.
Honestly, like my my reasons for liking Love Letter and putting it here, same as everyone else's. I just think like whenever we're having a good time, or having just hanging out with friends, it's like Love Letter is always out. We're always there, so it's just a nice game that just reminds me of good times hanging with the boys and stuff. Overall, just such a fun game. Like Anthony said, how our meta developed, and how we try and like counter each other, get lucky plays, and how like Princess goes from a card like you used to really like having in your hand, and then you draw it first play, and you're just like, I'm going to lose. It's over. So yeah, that's really simple, fun, strategic game. Has a lot of cool memories around it, and that is why I put it at my number 4.
I have a question for you guys. How much
Yes.
RNG do you like in your games? I know there's like a fine balance of having a little bit in there, but if it's too much, it's kind of just you're rolling dice and seeing who wins. Do you prefer strategy?
Yeah, I think totally I prefer strategy. That being said, though, I think I don't mind. It depends on how serious I want to take the game. A game like Love Letter, it's not a big deal. And there is a lot of strategy in Love Letter, but there is RNG, of course. You're drawing cards, which is always RNG, but it's not as big of a deal in a game like Love Letter as opposed to like other, big bolder games.
Like chess, for example, there's no RNG. You're just
Sure.
going. You make your moves and bold and brass.
Right. I don't know, but I don't mind RNG if it makes for an interesting game. I think RNG does well with certain mechanics in games. So like if you're trying to simulate kind of what an enemy does, if they're an unpredictable enemy, or if like something with the game, a rule changes every round. Like I think things like that. But I think like RNG, when it affects kind of, if it feels like you didn't have a chance, or if it just kind of it gives a bad taste in your mouth. So I think it's just important to know, how RNG impacts your game, because there is a place for RNG, but just kind of how it impacts it could leave a set.
Yeah, like if you think about games like Sorry, all you're doing is rolling a die and passing it, and then if you happen to, pass someone, then there's a penalty. But like it's literally just rolling a die. Those games I don't really care for. They were fun as a kid because it kind of gets you into that spirit of competition, but it's really not.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think what about a game like Risk, where you're rolling dice, lots of.
Well, but you still have control of how many units you want to send into a different territory, right? So it's like you're gambling the statistics. You're not just
that's a good
playing.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think. Like I don't mind, when there's statistics to it, I don't mind it as much, and I think there's games that where it's kind of like you're playing the odds, like how risk versus reward do you want to get? There's always a chance of something crazy happening, but how risky do you want to play things? Whereas a just straight up dice.
That's why it's called Risk.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it also helps newcomers to a game as well. If you have like playing with a group of people and someone's really good at a game and it has some RNG,
Totally.
that really good person can have strategy but still get screwed over, and the new player can still get that one up.
Totally.
Even if they're not as capable.
Nah, it's just beginner's luck.
Nah, never happened to me. Can't relate. Can't relate.
I'm still red in my beginner's luck. No, not at all.
All right, I think we should do some number 3s now. Let's go around. For number 3, I think for me at least, this is definitely my newest game on my list. It is, that being said though, it is about a year old at this point of when I started getting into this game. This goes into my strategy game. And I said earlier, I like having games that could be 2-player. Just because, if it's just 2, I don't have a lot that could only go for 2 players. But I like this one because it can go for 2 players, but it doesn't have to be. It could go for more. This game is called Funko Verse. Now, once I started playing this game, I fell in love with it. If you don't know, if you ever see those like Funko Pops on the shelves and everything, there's a game that is behind it, and you'll see them around at different stores. There's like a Rick and Morty set, there's a Harry Potter set, Jurassic Park. There's a whole bunch of sets, and all these sets you can combine them. You can get one, you can get 20 of them, you can get all of them, but they all combine together. You pit these different characters against each other in a 1v1 game. You control a team, your opponent controls a team, and all these characters have different abilities, have different roles, and it's just there's a lot of depth strategy into the game. It's pretty simple mechanics, and it has probably some of the coolest like game mechanics I've seen from a strategy game. There's like little things that they did with this game, which I was really surprised by. They implemented like a cooldown track and ability token and things like that, which I thought was really cool. And I think it's a very deep strategy game for how little it is. You know, it is pretty simple to get the hang of it, but I think there's a lot of strategy, especially with like character selection. I like the ability of picking your team, and it feels like your team. And, you know, you get to play with these really fun, cool, unique characters.
I've never played, but that sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think...
Yeah, he had me play it a few times, and it's really fun because it just mashes together all these different... I think the word is intellectual properties or something like that. So, like for me, I mixed like characters from Jurassic Park and Back to the Future and Rick and Morty, and each character has their own abilities, and so you can actually like mix and match these characters that like synergize with each other, or you know, or don't have to do anything with each other. That didn't come out right. Or don't have to do anything with each other. Yeah. And yet you can still make a team work. And yeah, the strategy is a big part. I'm not very good yet, but I think the more I play, the more that meta will develop.
Yeah, I definitely wish I played a little bit more with you when we were last together, because I think it's a fun game. I think you would have liked it a lot more had we played some more games with it. But it's cool. Like, there's some really cool sets. Like, I think some of my favorites that they have a Kool-Aid Man. It's like a single pack, like just a single guy.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. So that one, like, I found out that, again, this is like one of those things where I on my phone I find out, whoa, Kool-Aid Man exists. Took a 10-minute drive to Target, picked it up right away. I was like, nope, I need this right now. Kool-Aid Man, that's so sick.
Sounds awesome.
The biggest problem with me for this game right now is it takes up space, and I don't know where to put this anymore. I need to go to like Home Depot and get a box just kind of for this game, because I want to get another set. They have a Nightmare Before Christmas set, and I want to get that set. There's some cool characters in there, but I just don't have room for this anymore.
Yeah, you have that balance of how much space a game takes up versus how often you can actually use it and play with everything. Like, for example, Warhammer or something, when people who play Warhammer have the figures and you have to keep track of them all. And
yeah, Tomato, I'm curious, what do you think of Funko Verse? I know you've played this game a little bit as well. What do you think of this one?
I don't know. It's like I like it, but I have like a very like mixed opinion on it. I don't know. It's like, I think it's cool. I don't know. Like, cause honestly, it's funny cause like you came over to my place and then like me, you and Nick were playing, and then it was really hilarious. Like Nick getting a really good position, you know, outplaying you, and it's like, okay, now I just got to roll to win, and then he rolls, and then you just like didn't get a good roll. Yeah, stuff like that's pretty funny. The game, a lot of strategic value, I guess. Like, it's really fun getting your team to synergize with each other, but I don't know. It's not something like, even if I remade my list and made it like a top 5 of like what I think are the best games, I don't think I'd put Funko on that list. But that's just me.
You're entitled to your wrong opinion. Cool.
So how much is Funko Verse?
So, like I said, this is a game where you combine, the more you have, you know, the broader your character selection becomes. I think 4-packs are generally retail around $25 to $30. So, and there's different 4-packs. They have a couple Harry Potter ones, a DC one, Night Before Christmas, Game of Thrones, and then they have some 2-packs.
So you can dump all your money.
Yeah, this is a play. Yeah, it's invest your money.
Would you consider it? Would you consider it pay to win then? Like, are there certain synergies that would theoretically work better?
Sure. I think there are synergies that theoretically work better. But, I mean, saying pay to win is a bit extreme for a game like this, because it's not like...
It's not dependent on the synergies for winning. It's just uniqueness more.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily like if someone has a better team, they're objectively like just gonna straight up win. You know, it's not necessarily like that, because there is RNG, but there's also different like plays and moves you have to make that go with it. But
that's better then, because you can be interested in the ones that you want and get them, and not necessarily be worried about if it's the best combination of characters.
Yeah.
More just if you would like to play with them.
I don't have every set that's come out. I have the sets that I think are just gonna add either characters I just want to have. Like I want to have the Kool-Aid Man. Like I just wanted to have him in the collection. So I just want to have a vast variety of characters, and characters I think I just add a fun mechanic or gimmick to the game that I think would just be fun to have in this variety. Anyways, that is Funko, my number 3.
Awesome. For me, it's a tight 3. I would say I love my next 3 games a lot, and it's really hard to pick one over the other. And
Nah, none of that. You're committing. You're telling me right now this game is shit compared
I
to
am
your
committing.
other 2. Your other 2 are
I
take
am
a
committing.
crap on this next one.
I am committing, but I will preface by saying I play this game, and I have played this game, and I've owned this game longer and more than the top 2. It's Secret Hitler, though. I'm putting it at 3. And
Wow.
it has had some of the most intense game sessions that I've played with some of my friends. I think hit and roll games bring out the other side in people. It's so much fun watching people try to deceive each other, especially when you know people very well. And at the same time, when you play with people who you've never played with before, you end up having to figure out what type of player they are meanwhile, and it's a lot of fun. It can be challenging. It's easy to play for beginners once they get the hang of how the game functions, because hit and roll games are different depending on which you play. But, Among Us is popular for a reason. Deceiving your friends is fun.
Yeah, I think Among Us definitely speaks to how like these games are just do well. These deception-based games just do really well. Yeah, I definitely
Werewolf and Mafia are other really good ones.
And I definitely want to play this game again, especially with you guys, since you guys do like this game so much. I just haven't played it enough to really. I think there was a time when it was either I could buy this game or buy a different game. And I just went with the other one just because I have a lot of games similar to Secret Hitler, and I wanted this other game a little bit more to diversify more.
Yeah. All right, Tanner.
So my number 3 is it's a game I'd like to play more, but I played it a few times, and it has some cool figures. And if you're into Star Wars X-Wing is a fantastic game. Basically, it's a dogfight between ships from the Star Wars universe with these incredible models. It can get expensive, but the base game only goes for $40, and it comes with a few ships. And so basically, you're like going around this asteroid field trying to outmaneuver your friends, and basically there is a dice rolling mechanic, which kind of adds a little bit of suspense to the game. So basically, like say you wanted to shoot at someone else's ship, but their shields could block your shots, kind of a thing. So it's kind of a dice rolling, kind of similar to Risk, except there's a lot more like dynamic movement, and that's what the game's kind of based on, is moving your pieces. Yeah. And it's just really fun, really pretty to look at too.
Yeah, I was tempted for this game as well. Like this and Funko, I'd probably put them in the same category for me. Like they're very similar, like 2-player strategy games, similar in terms of what role they fill, not in like mechanic wise, but similar in the roles they fill of when I'd bring them out. If it's just me and a friend, these are both strategy-based games. They have cool miniatures. I agree, though. This game is really cool, really sick. I didn't know you liked this one that much, as much as you do.
Yeah, it definitely I've been into Star Wars like all my life, so just being able to have and hold these like amazing ships and stuff, it's just really cool. Unfortunately, some of the pieces that are like on retail do go for quite
the game
a bit, like upwards of like $30-$40 for some of the better models. But I mean, that's the thing you're paying for, is like these really pretty models. And
the models are really good quality. Like they're pre-painted, they're pre-designed. They're really good quality. They just came out with the second edition. I want to say 6 months ago, or a remastered edition. They came out with it originally, then there was a second edition, then now it's like a remaster that they came out with. And I don't have any of the remaster stuff. Or I don't buy any more new ships for the game anymore, just because if I buy new ships, I have to like buy the new core set. So I just play with all the old rules and stuff. But they have some really cool stuff with all the new stuff they're putting out. I just haven't been able to get it. Like they have all like the Clone Wars era stuff. all those cool ships. I think if you're a fan of Star Wars, like this is a great game. It just looks cool to play with. It's a good strategy. It's just fun to fly around. Awesome pick. Have you ever played X-Wing Miniatures, John? I don't know if have you ever heard of that game?
I've seen you guys play, but I don't believe I've played it myself. It looks interesting. I love games that use models, and I love themed games, so I imagine I would like it.
All right, so my number 3 is less a game itself, but rather a group of games. It's just the genre itself, and I'm pretty sure we talked about it a little bit before this, but it's basically the games are, I'm just list them off. You kind of probably see the connections is Resistance, Mafia, Werewolf, and kind of Among Us. You know, that just general style of game. It's really funny, just like the Secret Hitler, I guess, is also part of that, where you're kind of like just trying to deceive your friends. And it is, like, the reason why I put it there is it's so fun, just like when you get away with it. When you're just like, when you have someone on the opposite team just saying, nah, no way it's Jacob. He's such a good guy. He's on our team, guys. And then at the end, when you reveal that you won, the look of pure betrayal on their face.
It's kind of weird that you mentioned that because I've never seen that happen for you.
Yeah. Like,
Oh, no.
you're kind of dog
Man,
at this game,
you lying, Tanner. You lying.
I will say, Resistance is a game I've played with you all, and Resistance is another one that's a lot of fun.
It's also funny to see how like heated.
Yeah, there's
people
some
could get.
there's some passionate players. I shall say in this game. It's always fun to
Nick.
play with. Always fun. Always. I was gonna say it. I wasn't gonna say it. I was gonna say it. I think for some people, it's hard for them to understand why they're suspicious in a lot of these games. It's like, why did they get me out there? Why did they vote me out? You know, whatever.
But some people also just play randomly. They'll look
Oh
at
my
someone
God.
and be like, let's vote him out. And then they'll just vote him out.
Those are frustrating.
You have the Tyler players, and the Tyler players, they'll just
the troll players just throwing.
I'm on the red team, and you know Tanner and Jacob are also on my team. Might not be the case. He might be blue, and he doesn't actually know, but you know he's just saying it to say it.
So tomato, I gotta. So I mean, I agree. Like deception based, role playing, kind of those kind of games all fall into the same category. What would you? I mean, what of those is your favorite? You know.
I feel like all of them do have their pros and cons. Like Werewolf is much more like talkative. Like Werewolf Mafia, it's like much more like focused on just like. It's hard to look at people's actions and just figure it out. So you kind of have to know the people. So like Werewolf and Mafia are just so interesting to play with a group of people you know. Just because everyone's just trying to big brain each other. And just like, okay, I know you personally, so we're going to go for it. And other people's strategies for those games is I'm going to vote you out not because I think you're it. But because if you are it, you're going to be a fucking danger to society.
Oh yeah, and then that makes it harder for good players because everyone is always quick to vote you out. They're like, I don't want to deal with John being red, so I'm gonna vote him off first.
Yeah, so there's that. Like that's what I enjoy about that group. There's also like Resistance, and Resistance I like because it's you kind of like deal. There's a lot more like. Things you could do that reveal that you're the traitor. Like, you know, if a mission fails, you know, one of the 3 people on the mission are definitely the traitor.
Yeah.
And it's easier to narrow it down.
That's a
that's
feature that's also in Secret Hitler with the voting on policies, right?
Yeah. And I think that goes along with Secret Hitler. So it's much easier to narrow down people, and it just makes it that much more satisfying when you're able to deceive people when they've narrowed it down to like you and like one other or 2 other people. So that's why Resistance there. Among Us kind of fits too.
That's a video game.
But Among Us is so fun just trying to like dodge people, you know, and like lie. Like I think Among Us might be like, it's not necessarily tabletop, but in terms of this style of game, I think it might be the peak because it mixes like gameplay and deception.
As you were naming those off, it was kind of making me just think in my head like as you were listing them off, it kind of goes from most like just social to gameplay. Like Among Us is definitely the most like technical out of all of those. Like if you mess up something, just that someone knows objectively about the game, you'll be outed as a player. Whereas like Mafia, there's not much you can do to mess up gameplay. It's just all social. It's things you say. and Resistance is kind of in the between. You could mess up gameplay, but not as heavily as like Among Us is, where Among Us is definitely the most like gameplay wise. But yeah, so it's really interesting. And that includes round 3, and before round 2, I think we all brought a segment on this podcast that we're going to start doing. We didn't get to do last week, but we want to start doing is every episode we want to bring our own unique drinks to have throughout. So throughout this whole episode, I've been sipping on my drink, and as the rest of everyone else, and I guess I'll share what I brought today. So I brought this pseudo ale, pale ale, craft brew, based from, double check the name again, from Goliath Brewing, from Decorah, Iowa. I found this one from Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's has a really cool selection of different craft brewings, and I found this one. It's a nice light ale, has a good finish to it. Has a nice cool display of like this T-Rex dinosaur. Has a really cool cover on it that I really like. But it's nice. It's nice pseudo ale. So yeah, it's called pseudo ale.
Purple and green.
Pseudo ale from Goliath, Iowa.
Does it taste like the purple green dinosaur?
Totally. Yeah, it tastes like Barney himself. You can just taste love and friendship.
I am sipping on some Mango Cart from Golden Road Brewing, based in Los Angeles. This is a wheat ale, and it's very sweet. It's got a nice mango flavor. Probably one of my go-tos when I just want to relax. I'm typically an IPA kind of guy, but Mango Cart is definitely a close second favorite, just because it's easy to kind of sip on. It's fruity, and it's just got a nice rounded taste. Go try it.
What's it called again?
A Mango Cart.
Yeah, I love mango, so I would probably want to try that. You guys are convincing me to get back onto the drinking train.
No, so John, you have
it all sounds so good.
Sorry about that. So how long? You said you've been not drinking for how long again?
We're encroaching on 3 months now.
Nice.
Of complete sobriety, and I've been watching what I put in my body. So I have been drinking this drink. I also stopped caffeine. That was a really big decision
you work
for
at
me.
Starbucks.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
And it has honestly helped. I have a bad anxiety problem, and getting caffeine in my body is horrible for that. It makes me jittery and all that. But I still wanted to feel like alert and awake, so I was looking for coffee alternatives, and I found this thing called Mud Water, and it's way less caffeine than a cup of coffee. So there is a little bit, but it uses this mushroom blend of lion's mane, cordyceps, chaga reishi, and those kind of help you get that focus. It has a masala chai in it as well, and then it's cacao, cinnamon, turmeric, and Himalayan salt. And it's just a mix you put in hot water and then stir it up, drink it. It tastes mostly like the cinnamon chai, and it's pretty good. I like to put, they offer their own like vegan sweetener or creamer, I should say. It's coconut oil and MCT oil, so it's good for your heart. I've been putting a little bit of that in it, and then also almond milk, and it comes out pretty nice.
Yeah, that sounds
like a cup a
awesome.
day.
Where can someone get that?
Online. So they have an online store, and it's just mud, and then water is WTR. You can get like I think it's 30-day tin. You can do a recyclable bag of a 90-day serving, which is what I do, and then I have a 3-month subscription, so I'm still on my first big bag.
Wow.
And then you can do the same for the creamer. But yeah, it's good.
I looked this up right now. It looks sick.
You do have to lower your consumption or stop drinking caffeine completely to really notice it once you get it and start drinking it, and after like a week you'll start to notice that when you drink it you do get more focused.
I mean, yeah,
but could also all be placebo.
Totally. I mean, I don't drink coffee as is. Like I probably have maybe 1 cup every 6 months if I'm like in finals or something. But no, this looks cool. This looks really good. I would love to try some.
Yeah,
sometime.
healthy energy drink alternatives are really interesting.
Yeah.
There's a comedian, Reggie Watts. He does something called nootropics or something. It's another one that I was looking into, but that's like straight energy drink, and it uses stuff in it to help you boost but I did this one because it's sugar-free, and then you can just add your own sweetener.
Nice. All right. Tomato.
Sounds
Sure,
good.
what craft, mixture, organic drink did you bring today?
Oh man, really dreading this part of the podcast. But so basically, I looked in my pantry and I'm like alcoholic beverages, and I don't really like drinking alcohol all too much. So I looked around. I like drinking wine here and there, and I ran out of bottles of wine. So I was like, okay, I'll do what I have, and what I have is a little bit of vodka here. It's horrible.
What brand?
It's the worst vodka I've ever drank in my life, but so I thought it'd be interesting to chug it out on this section, finish this little bit. So I'll try that right
Is
now.
that Tito's?
And we'll see if I throw up. So let's go for it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
That's a lot more than a little
Oh
bit.
my
Holy
goodness.
cow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Jeez,
mean, for the
dude.
listeners, man, that was definitely more than a couple
Oh,
shots
God.
worth than that. He's drinking water. Okay.
Oh man. Well, you can
Awesome.
as an
Ooh.
audience also
That was
bring your
gross.
own drink and share it with us.
Mhm.
That
When
was
we post
nasty.
these, we'll figure out a place where you can be like, "Hey, I'm drinking
Yeah.
Mountain Dew Code Red.
Yeah, I would love to try
Because
out
It's delicious."
some new drinks that anyone recommends, if they sound interesting at all.
Absolutely.
But cool. Back to the regularly scheduled program. Our number twos, everyone, and my number two has not been said technically, but this goes into my deception, role-playing esque, hidden traitor mechanic game, and mine is Werewolf. I think again,
Ooh, yes.
I think why Werewolf takes over for me as opposed to like some of these other ones is one, I think the nostalgia for me. I think I definitely have played this one a bunch of times with a bunch of different groups, and it always goes over well. Like I've played this at a lot of like Codenames, which I said earlier, and this one are probably the games that I can play with my families, who aren't really big gamers, and they have fun with these kind of games. They've had fun. It's fun seeing your mom outplay your sister by lying, and it's just a fun time. I think Werewolf, I like what Tomato was getting at last time. He was saying how different ones fill different groups, and I see that as well, but more on the side of how many people I have. If I have maybe 9 or more people, I would love to play Werewolf. When it's a decently sized group, I love playing Werewolf. I think Werewolf, you don't have to know everyone, in my opinion, as long as everyone is comfortable enough to play a game. I think that's all you need, because Werewolf, it will bring out the talking. I think especially if it's a group who doesn't know each other, and this is kind of like their first time all hanging out with each other. I think Werewolf is a fun game to get people talking, to get them, just to kind of get people to get to know each other, and they'll have something to kind of fall back onto the rest of the night. Like, hey, remember when we were a werewolf team and we won? Like that'd be such a cool experience if it was someone you never met before and you had that memory with that person as your first kind of memory with them. I think there's a lot of cool game mechanics with it, a lot of cool roles. You could play this game with a deck of cards. I've definitely played with a deck of cards many times. I've also supported the creators of it, and they sent out a Kickstarter a little while ago of like a remastered edition, so I'm picking up that. It comes with a lot of cool stuff.
Nice.
There's a lot of cool house rules I play with in the past that I like. I mean, in order to eliminate some of the jank, because I do like how Among Us and probably Secret Hitler and Resistance, where after the first night there is something to talk about, because it seems like in Werewolf, a lot of the time there's not a lot to talk about the first night, whereas Resistance and these other games, there is things you could talk about. There's some game mechanics you could talk about that happened. So I like to do some things like the first night. I like to I'll say that, oh, I died, or the moderator died the first day, so that way it kind of gives them a day to just kind of talk and discuss, and then once someone dies the second night, it gives them more information based on the first conversation. There's a lot of little things you could do, and you could look up different things, tips as well, to help moderate. But I love moderating this game. I love just watching the dynamic play out and watching people.
Yeah, it's definitely the most social of like the hidden role games that we all play, and it's a lot easier for people to learn and play. The entry level, or the barrier for entry is lower, I should say.
Totally.
Which is amazing. It makes it a very easy game to play with people, which is great because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, the only drawback I really see with it is that it's hard to play with smaller groups. And the more people, the better. But you're not always going to have, 10 people over.
And
Yeah.
So it's kind of a limited
it's definitely limited.
game.
That's why I have it as my number 2, because when I play it, it's a good time. Because I won't play it unless I have 8 or 9 people at least. I just don't bring it out. If I have less than that, I'll play Resistance, or I'll play Bang the Dice Game, which are other hidden trader kind of games that can support smaller groups. But I would rather play an ideal game of Werewolf than an ideal game of Resistance. Is how I looked at this
That's
list.
cool.
Like in each game's like ideal setting, ideal player count, what is the max amount of fun I have with this game? And this is a lot of fun.
So for my second pick, or my number 2 pick, I am going to go with The Binding of Isaac 4 Souls, which is a card game by Edmund Macmillan, and he made the game The Binding of Isaac. It's a fantastic video game. It's also probably my favorite video game.
Best roguelike?
Yeah, definitely for me. It's the perfect encapsulation of the video game in a tabletop format, and Edmund also plays Magic the Gathering, and those influences shine through in the game, so it feels a lot like multiplayer Commander Magic, which is a really fun multiplayer format of Magic the Gathering. And there's a lot of synergies, and you fight bosses, and whoever kills the most bosses, or 4, wins, which is where the name 4 Souls comes from. And everyone gets their character, different characters do different things, and lots of items that can synergize, and it's a lot of fun. It's a bit pricier. You can buy the base copy of the game for like $30 at Target or wherever, but the expansions really add to it as well. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a multiplayer game, and it definitely is one that I really enjoy playing. I don't play it enough because I don't have a lot of people who play it, or like to play it with me. But when I do play it, it's a lot of fun.
Definitely played it at your house a few times, and I definitely really like it. I like how they incorporate kind of a roguelike atmosphere into this board game. And the boss fights are fun, and they really keep you interested in the game.
Yeah, and like we mentioned before, I think it has a good balance of that RNG, but still having a lot of strategy, and you can choose what items that you purchase, and then they affect each other in different ways, so you can plan around that and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this game definitely has to go onto my playlist or even just watch list, because this is the only game that I know very little about. So I definitely need to play this game sometime.
Yeah, John, how much is it like the actual like video game? Because this sounds like
obviously there are a lot of differences. Being that the video game is a dungeon crawler, and you're one player shooting your way through, and you get to the end and win. With the card game, everyone's pitted against each other, and you play cards out of your hand to get money, or to get some I think the majority of it is get more cards that can do random special effects to help you kill enemies and kill bosses, or get money, and then you use the money to buy items from the shop, and then your items help you fight enemies, which help you get more cards, which help you get more money and more items. And then the goal is to not die, because when you die, you end up losing some of your resources and some of your items and money. And then whoever gets 4 souls first wins. So harder bosses have 2 souls, and then regular bosses have 1. Other than that, it's the fighting system is obviously not you're shooting tears at a enemy, but you're rolling dice and trying to outroll the boss or the enemy. And that is where it gets a little bit more RNG, but it can create some crazy moments. Like one of the harder bosses, you have to roll the max roll of 8 8 hits, so you have to roll, I think, 5 or 6 on a d6 higher, 5 or 6 on a d6, and then do that 8 times. And I've had a friend who had no items. He was like, I'm gonna just go for it, and then kills the boss by rolling 8 times and getting the 6s and the 5s, and it's a lot of fun when that kind of crazy stuff happens. I know. And yeah, it's a game on tabletop sim, so I should mention that if you guys want to play it virtually, you can. There's a port. Yeah, Edmund just says he's fine with it being on there as long as people make sure that people know that there's a Kickstarter for a new version of the game that's coming out or a sequel. Okay. But yeah.
So my number 2 game is it's definitely my fallback to my number 1, but we'll get to that later. Anyway, it is King of Tokyo. Basically, it's a giant monster fight in Tokyo, and everybody, I'd probably say like the best way to play it is with 4 people, because 5 people, it opens up to multiple spots on the board if you have the newer edition of the game. But basically, like, it's all about strategizing, figuring out how much health you have, and kind of taking a gamble as to like go into this Tokyo space where if you're in Tokyo, you can hit everyone at once, but everyone outside can only hit the person that's in Tokyo. And while you're in Tokyo, you can't heal. So you really have to weigh your options. There's cards you can buy that give you power-ups. And it's actually pretty cheap. It's only about $35. But it's fun 30 to 45-minute games, depending on who you're playing with. If you're playing with someone like Anthony, the games can go on for very long because
that's supposed to mean
he knows how to play very well. No, he knows how to play really well, and so it's just like it's hard to kill him.
I'm not lame when I play, all right? I am not
What?
No, you're definitely lame. What are you
Did
talking
you say I'm
about?
lame when I play?
No, I said you're really good at playing.
But if you say the game goes on for a long time, making it sound like I just like camp and I'm lame. I'm an aggressive player, okay?
No.
I want Tokyo.
Yeah, so do I.
Like, playing lame is kind of the way to play Tokyo. If you play too aggressive, you're going to die first.
There's a balance. There's a balance for sure.
I will say I haven't played it a lot, but when I've played with you guys, I've had a lot of fun. It's one of those unique games where there's nothing like it that I've really played. It's fun. It's competitive. There's strategy. There's RNG a little bit, and it has a lot of elements of a lot of other games that I like. And it's fun.
Yeah, and probably King of Tokyo is the only game where I would say the expansion is like required for this game. Like I would say you buy King of Tokyo plus the Evolution expansion is like a necessity because it really adds so much to the game. And it offers a lot. It makes all the monsters unique. It just adds a lot of fun to it. But totally, King of Tokyo is a great pick.
Yeah, honestly, love King of Tokyo. I love it so much so that I also put it at my number 2 spot.
Double crossover. Whoa.
So, honestly, King of Tokyo, fantastic game. There's so many different, like, what I appreciate is the different strategies you could employ. You don't win one way playing King of Tokyo. You could win by getting points. You could win by just collecting energy, buying cards, and being so broken that no one could kill you. You know, that's a very viable option. You know, you could just like, and you could get evolution. Certain characters' evolutions are busted. Like, so that's what I appreciate from King Tokyo. You know, you get a whole bunch of different avenues to play the game. Also, it's like, it's one of the games that we have like where it's like always like a good time playing game. I don't think I've ever had a bad time playing King of Tokyo. You know, it's like always fun, always a lot of strategy. Games usually come out pretty close.
Psych.
Yeah, it's always a good time. No game ever feels the same too. That's what's also nice. It's like always like different whenever we play.
Yeah, good game, man. Didn't quite make it into mine.
I'm surprised. I thought you would have definitely at least put it in your top 5. I feel like all of us do. Like,
I think this is a good segue into honorable mentions. I think King of Tokyo definitely would be an honorable mention for me. It was teetering for a while. But again, I kind of wanted to have kind of that round off list. I've definitely played a lot of King of Tokyo, but I just think when I'm looking at the rest of my list, an ideal game of the rest of these just serves a better purpose for me. Um, but King of Tokyo would definitely be my honorable mention, probably my number 6 spot. Any other honorable mentions that you guys have that didn't quite make your list?
Oh yeah, I have Exploding
Oh,
Kittens,
really?
something
Ooh.
that is probably it's really fun because it's a very low barrier to entry, and basically all the rules are on the cards, and it has a good deal of RNG, but at the same time there is a little bit of strategy mixed in, and I think it's just fun that you can have this 10 to 15 minute game depending on how fast you are. Another one that we played at Denny's,
True.
probably
True.
way too much, but yeah, I definitely really like that one.
For me, one of my favorite tabletop games, which I originally did not consider, is Magic the Gathering. So that would be my honorable mention. So many countless hours playing it, so many formats to play it. It's very complex. It's hard to get into, but it's a lot of fun and it's very rewarding. And you can play casually or competitively.
Yeah, honestly, mine is
I
Unstable
was
Unicorns.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
piggyback
like
off
I
that as
definitely
well.
love it. Yeah, because it's such a fun game, and it's like I feel like it's the most complex game. Like it has so much different strategies, so many different possible combinations of cards that could lead to like such a strong hand. And it's like I never feel like when I'm playing Unstable Unicorns, even if I'm losing really badly, that like I don't think I could win. I always feel like I could win if like I get a certain card that just makes everything I have just work. But yeah, Unstable is
Yeah,
definitely like
I would say
a
that
really good
Unstable
honorable mention for
Unicorns,
me.
at least if I'm playing, it depends on the group I'm playing with, but Unstable Unicorns probably almost killed Exploding Kittens for me. But I would much rather. I feel like those games are similar enough where if I'm gonna bust out Exploding Kittens, at least with my gamer friends, I'd rather play Unstable Unicorns. I think Kittens,
Yeah, I would
yeah,
have to agree.
Kittens is better if people are more newer to games and stuff, and because Unstable has not complex rules, but just rules that maybe aren't as familiar for people who don't play a lot of games. But sweet. All right. The climax, if you will, the number one, your number one favorite games of all time. I'm not sure if there will be overlap, but if there is, probably you can just jump in, just so we don't have to like repeat the number ones. But mine, I went into this list. There's been one game that I've had the longest. This has been my first game that really got me into gaming. And I really tried when making this list because this has been my number one for a while. I really tried when I made this list. Okay, is this game really still my number one? I was looking at all these other games, and again, following my rule set where having a diverse set of games, having each game in its ideal setting for me, the good amount of player counts, maybe the people that you want. Like this game, still without question, still my number one. It is a co-op action-based game, and that is Zombicide. So Zombicide, like I said, it's a co-op based game, and this is the game that got me into gaming in general. I think it was my sister's friend at the time, and he came over. He had the game. We played it, and instantly I fell in love with this game. I went out and bought it. You're in a team of players, and you're all on the same team against the game's zombies. There's really cool miniatures that come with the game. There's a lot of cool rules with the game, a lot of cool items, and there's different versions of the game. The one that I am the most drawn to is the modern version of it, like where it's the modern time period. They have a medieval one, they have a space one, but the modern one has always been the most appealing to me. I like just having guns. I like driving cars.
Wait, there's a
There's a
space version?
space
Wait,
version.
wait,
I
wait,
don't
wait,
have the
wait,
space
wait.
version.
How
Yeah,
have
there's
I
a
never
space
heard of
version.
this?
It's called Zombicide Space Invaders, something like that. But yeah, pretty much similar, same game, but just space themed, kind of space rules and things like that. It's like gravity and things like that. But I always like the modern version more. I like seeing all the modern stuff, flying in helicopters and driving cars. Cool theme, cool like different maps and terrains. They just came out with a second edition of the modern time period, and I did back that as well. So I'll be getting a bunch of new updated sculpts, updated rules, updated terrains, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I do enjoy this game. I always say after I buy a new set, like, okay, this is it for Zombicide. I don't need any more. I have everything I need. But then they come out with something that just, god dang, it just looks cool. I've been painting some of the miniatures as well, and it just looks cool seeing it all set up with painted figures. But this game, I can't imagine falls out of my number one for a little while still.
Yeah, honestly, this man loves Zombicide. Like, the first time I met Anthony, the first thing he busted out was Zombicide. Like we were hanging out and like we were just like, okay, what do we do? Anthony pulls out a giant fucking like duffel bag or something. Or no, he doesn't even have the duffel bag yet. He walks in with like 6 stacked boxes and it's like, okay, we're playing Zombicide. Spends half an hour setting it up. Me and Tanner are like, what's going on? Spend another hour of him explaining the rules to me. And then that's like, dude, there's no way this game's going to be good. This is so complicated. And you sit down and it's like, man, this game's actually like pretty legit.
It runs. And honestly, one of my favorite things favorite memories from game nights in high school was trying to convince everyone to play Zombicide because it's so much fun. I have enjoyed every game that I've played.
Like outside the setup, because like I said, setup, like especially if there's someone new. Because I remember John when we first played with you, like Anthony, spent the time setting up the board, and then like me and Tanner go off to the side and start talking, and Anthony just starts explaining the rules to you, and me and Tanner are like, this is gonna take a little bit.
And I think as the years have gone on, you definitely get better at setting up a game like that. Like I have it streamlined in terms of how I have it set up, and even with the new edition coming out, a big part of the Kickstarter they were saying is set up as like less than 3 minutes kind of thing. Like they have like new things kind of implemented in the game itself, which just makes it easier to set up. Small things, but yeah.
Well, I'm super excited for the sequel.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun to play.
Cool.
All right, so for me, number one spot. This is my most recent purchase for a game, and I'm honestly very impressed. And it goes in my top slot for a couple of different reasons. I don't have a lot of memories with playing this game quite yet. I'm still forming them, and I'll get right to it. It's Tapeworm, another game by Edmund Macmillan. It is a spatial card game where...
Wait. Pause. Like, as soon as you said the name, I just see Anthony give a surprised look and start looking it up. He's looking it up right now.
Ooh, yeah. So
John, you got these games Anthony doesn't know about.
This game is super cheap, $15, I think, and it's super portable, so that is a plus. Quick games, you can play 2 to 4 players, and it's a cross between Snake and Uno, where you are playing your cards out onto the table to match colors, and you're just trying to play out your hand. And it's a lot of fun. It's really easy for people to play, and so I've been able to get my family into it. My younger sisters are able to play, and then it's also still a lot of fun, and there's a lot of strategy for older people to play too, like my parents or friends and so on and so forth. And there is an NSFW version. Very fun as well. But yeah, it's got to be my number one pick for right now. It's a game that I see myself playing a lot in the future.
Very
cool.
nice.
Yeah, I'm looking at
Honestly,
this. Yeah, it
sounds cool. Like Anthony doesn't know about it, so honestly, like good.
I'm looking
good
at
choice,
it.
good
Reminds me.
choice.
I don't know if you ever heard of the game called Suro. I think we played it once at Fanime Tomato. I don't remember who else was there, but it's kind of a game.
I only remember playing.
It's a
Catan.
game where it's kind of like everyone has the tiles in their hand, and there's like a path, and you play down your tile, and then you like will try to keep it on its path for as long as possible. Try to not have your character like fall off the board, things like that. Kind of reminds me of that. But anyways, yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah.
Definitely looks like a lot of fun.
Another game that I compare it to myself is Dominoes. So if you've ever played like tabletop Dominoes where you're matching the numbers, it's almost identical. You know, you're just trying to play out your hand and match everything up.
Cool. Good pick.
You know, there's the different abilities and stuff, so it's a lot of fun.
Well, for me, looks like we have another crossover because my number one pick was also Zombicide. It is a fantastic game. It's just expensive as hell, but the base game you can get for roughly $100, and that's kind of a good deal if you can get it new.
I didn't realize it was that expensive.
There's a lot that comes. The base game itself, though, yeah, is enough to enjoy the game. Like, I'm crazy with the game. I love seeing all the different characters and different expansions they have. But yeah, the base game comes with more than enough to have a great time. But Tanner, why is it your number one, Tanner?
So ever since we started hanging out, you basically were just like, dude, there's this board game. And I'm like, zombies? Because we used to play a lot of Call of Duty Zombies. Like, that was our thing. And then he's like, there's this board game.
We still do.
Oh, yeah. So he pulls this out, and it is the most complex board game I'd ever seen to that point, and we just sunk hours after hours. And I think the most fun part about it is that you don't know if you're going to win. It is probably one of the hardest board games I've also ever played, and it sucks because you'll set it up, like Jacob said, it takes like 30 minutes, and then you play for like 2.5 hours, and if you want to win, you're going to be playing for like 4. But yeah, then you just get like your ass kicked by these stupid miniatures, and it's just so much fun because you really have to take your time like thinking out your moves.
Honestly, like, I think a really funny memory I have with it is just like, we're all like, okay, we're at the end, guys. We spent like 3 hours trying to collect all these objectives, like Anthony's already at the end. Me and Tanner, we just have to get there and we win. And it's like, okay, zombies get a turn. Zombies turn. It's like all the zombies are on me and Tanner square. We're like, okay, we're fine. We got slippery. We're good. And all of a sudden, it's like extra zombie activation. We die. Game over. And the entire like 4.5 hours we spent playing the game, just like we lost. But honestly, yeah, really.
Yeah, it's a
really
solid
fun,
game.
really fun.
The challenge adds a whole nother dimension when a game actually, like, when it forces you to strategize and plan and is hard.
Yeah, it's honestly like at any moment you could lose, and it's just like you really got to be on your toes. So it's always fun. Always fun.
And last but not least,
Okay, I guess it goes into my number one. My number one, I could guarantee no one here could guess my number one. Like, I could guarantee, you know what? I want to hear everyone's guess, what they think my number one is. Because I am positive no one here could guess my number one. So, Anthony, what do you think's my number one?
Zombie side.
chess. Oh,
Okay. John, what do you think is my number one?
chess. I think I'm calling it.
Okay, Tanner?
Oh, man.
Come on. Known each other for 8-ish years.
I'm gonna go with
Ooh,
Anthony.
doubling down.
Zombie side.
Okay. Well, you're all dumb because you got it wrong. Okay, so basically my game is a classic. It's been around for years. The destroyer of
goodness.
friendships. My number one game
Monopoly.
is Monopoly.
Oh,
Monopoly is the GOAT game. And let me tell you why. So everyone here, I've never
I was about
played
to say, I don't think
Monopoly
we've
with
ever
anybody
played
here.
Monopoly.
No, but see, the predecessor, before you, Anthony, I had a friend in elementary school that only had one board game, and it was Monopoly. And I would go over to his house every day, and we'd play Monopoly for 6 hours straight. I have gotten so optimized with Monopoly, like, it's annoying, because I'm just thinking, man, one day Anthony's going to bust out Monopoly, and I'm going to show him my skills.
I don't think Anthony will ever.
I could bust out Monopoly
Jacob.
and whoop your ass, Jacob. That's what you want, bro. I'm still goated at
Bro,
Monopoly, bro.
I'm telling you, I got the strats at Monopoly.
Oh my
But honestly,
goodness.
like a lot of like the highlights of my childhood was I had this friend, like I said, go over to his house, play Monopoly like all day, and it was always like such a good time. And there's no better feeling than you have 20 hotels on the board. No one has anything. No one has any money to build anything. And you're going to win. And you just watch the despair fall upon people's faces as you slowly take their money.
Jesus,
There's
man.
no better
I'm a
feeling
little.
than that, man.
I don't know if I
There's
should be
no better
offended.
feeling.
You said you have these memories, of playing 6 hours with this friend of yours, but the memories weren't strong for the zombie side, Tomato.
I'm telling you, Anthony, like, out of all the games we've played, I've played Monopoly the most. I could tell you that. As a
You
fact
have
now.
played
And
Monopoly
honestly, like,
more
for
than
those
you've played
viewing,
Love
like,
Letter.
I've known Anthony for years and years. I'm like actually saying as a fact, I've played Monopoly like way more than any other game like I've ever played with you. So like this has the most nostalgia on my list. So
You know,
it's got to be my number one.
What's-
It is just such a fun game to just destroy people at, you know?
it's funny that it's your top pick because it's one of those games where you really are just rolling dice and seeing if you get the best properties the fastest and then
It's-
draining everyone
Yeah,
else over the course of a few
It's,
hours.
it's literally like just nostalgia. I look back on this game with such fond memories. Like,
Yeah,
it's really hard for me. Like, if it wasn't number one, it would be like an honorable mention or like still within the top 5.
Yeah,
you know?
it's
That's how much I really do like.
it's a good one. It's a lot of fun.
Damn.
Well,
I think
that's our list.
that's the list, man. I respect, 2 of your guys' lists. I love it a lot.
What?
I think
Who?
you guys had great number 1 choices.
We'll leave that
just
to the
overall quality of your
audience
list.
to find.
Hey, don't hate. Don't hate.
Oh man, dude, I gotta stomp you in Monopoly so you put this so you give up on this, man.
Dude, you ain't beating me. I'm telling you that right now. You ain't winning.
All right. Well, I think next time we all meet post-pandemic, we'll have to bring our top games and play them.
I guess so. But I think that
Agreed.
concludes this podcast. It was probably a bit of a long one. We'll see how it goes, but it was a fun time. I loved hearing all the lists. I love seeing what games stuck with you guys through the years.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun coming up with it and reminiscing on some of the fond memories.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it really makes me think about how many board games I've actually played knowing Anthony. Because I know if I didn't know him, I'd probably only play maybe like 1 or 2 of these games that we've mentioned.
Yeah, that was a lot of
All
fun.
right. Well, thank you so much for listening again, and we will put another one out next week, and we hope to see you all there.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Yeah. See you later, losers.
Piggyback.